If you've got a fascination with history's dark side, then you're in luck because in today's video, we'll be driving back to some of the most heinous historical occurrences that will leave you in shock. From sinister secrets to disturbing deeds, these are some of the most controversial clergymen to ever walk the planet. Hey everyone, welcome back to the GC Truth. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 5 worst priests in history. So if you're ready to face your fears, let's dive into the world of horror and take a look at the top 5 worst priests in history. Buckle up because you're about to go on a wild ride filled with all the creepy details you could ever want. Number 5. Oliver O'Grady. The 2006 documentary, Deliver Us from Evil, told the story of Irish Catholic priest Oliver O'Grady, who committed heinous crimes against children in the US. The documentary detailed the horror that O'Grady inflicted on his victims, which led to his conviction in 1993 of lewd acts and a sentence of 14 years in prison. When the victims sued the church for damages, they were awarded $30 million, but it was later reduced to $7 million. In 2000, O'Grady was paroled and deported back to Ireland. However, during a deposition in 2005, he admitted to having as many as 25 victims. Several years later, O'Grady was sentenced to 3 years in prison for possessing explicit content. Then, in 2020, he was back in jail for the same offense, this time for 22 months. The cycle of crime and punishment, as well as the church's negligence in handling O'Grady, was appalling. Number 4. Ryan Erickson. The tragedy of Daniel O'Connell and James Ellison's unlawful slayings rocked the city of Hudson, Wisconsin in 2002. The police worked tirelessly to find the perpetrator of this heinous crime, but it wasn't until 2004 when they spoke to the local priest and associate pastor, Ryan Erickson, that they began to suspect his involvement. When Erickson mentioned details about the crime that weren't published, the cops knew they were onto something. After confronting him a second time and taking his computer, Erickson took his own life, denying the allegations in a final note. The investigation that led to Erickson's involvement ended in 2005. It was discovered that O'Connell was set to expose Erickson for attacking a teenager, and this was the motive for his crime. Erickson, in a desperate attempt to avoid being exposed, took the life of his victims in cold blood. Number 3. Heinous. Heinous was anything but the kind and just person a priest should be. During the Rwandan genocide of 1994, 2,000 ethnic Tutsis found refuge in Saramba's church, seeking safety from the violence raging outside. But Saramba betrayed their trust by ordering bulldozers to demolish the church, then telling the militia to finish off any survivors. The Catholic Church took Saramba to Italy and changed his name in an attempt to protect him from the worldwide outrage sparked by his heinous act. But the pressure became too much, and in 2002 Saramba handed himself into the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. In 2006, Saramba was found guilty of crimes against humanity and sentenced to 15 years in jail. But after appealing the verdict, the tribunal realized he was more involved than they had initially thought. As a result, Saramba's sentence was increased to life imprisonment. Number 2. Gerald Robinson. In 1980, 71-year-old Sister Margaret Ann Paul was ritualistically slain in Mercy Hospital's chapel in Toledo, Ohio. For 2 decades, no one was charged with this horrendous crime. However, after 2 decades of silence, a letter from a woman changed everything. The letter, which accused Robinson of ritual abuse, was the key clue that allowed authorities to connect the dots and arrest him for Paul's murder. In 2006, Robinson was found guilty of a crime and sentenced to 15 years in prison. During his time behind bars, he tried to appeal the conviction several times but was unsuccessful until he passed away in 2014. But even after his death, the story continued to make headlines. The Catholic Church controversially allowed Robinson to be buried as a priest, even though he had been convicted of a monstrous crime. Number 1. Brendan Smith. The story of Brendan Smith is a chilling reminder of how evil can lurk behind a smiling face and a collar. He was a Catholic priest in Northern Ireland who has been accused of hundreds of counts of sexual assault and other forms of abuse. His abhorrent and depraved behavior was known in his home country of Northern Ireland, the United States, England, and Wales, among others. Smith's decades of illicit acts were kept hidden for years, but it all came to light in 1991. Facing the possibility of a lengthy prison sentence, he fled to the Republic of Ireland while on bail. In 1994, Smith was sentenced to 4 years with 3 years running concurrently. He reportedly admitted to having hundreds of victims. In 1997, he was released and faced additional charges in the Republic. Found guilty, he received a 12-year sentence. He passed away shortly after this sentence was handed down. We've looked at some horrific stories, from priests who abused and manipulated their own parishioners to those who peddled superstition and false promises. If you found this video insightful, give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more such videos. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.